7th and 8th grade, we had to change our venue today. I was hoping that we could be out in the gazebo in Constitution Park, but it's raining and it's cold for our filming. And so we have a backdrop of the beautiful artwork of the French-American students, and I'm trying to bring you a little bit of spring and of Earth Day and of Care of Creation, plus. And so join us now with Michael and Amanda and Nick and Jack and Sophia for the journey that we're going to take today as we move into Good Shepherd Sunday. As you see, I have a puzzle piece picture of Jesus the Good Shepherd, and we're also going to talk about Pope Francis, our shepherd of the entire Catholic Church in the entire world. And so with that, let's enter into our heart space by sitting up straight, sitting still, sitting silently, soft breathing in. And on our in-breath, we see Jesus calling us, let's care for creation, he's saying, and he says our name, and he says, I love you. And we respond on our out-breath, I love you, Jesus. In-breath, we hear our name, I love you. Out-breath, we respond, I love you, Jesus. In-breath, once again, we hear our name, Jesus says, I love you. Out-breath, I love you, Jesus. Jesus, you are the Lord of creation. Help us to understand, to be stewards and shepherds of all the many gifts that you have given us through your Father's creation hand and through you who brought that creation to us through your life and all that you did, and your Spirit who continues the work, your work in the world. Fill us with everything that we need to be stewards and carers of creation. We ask this as we ask all good things through Jesus, our Savior and our brother. We are on April 25th Visions, and I'm going to ask you on your own to take a little test for yourself to find out a little quiz about how you care for creation. And after you add up your score and so forth, you'll be able to turn to page 4 at the bottom and find out how well you did. I'm going to have to be very honest. I took this before we started and I got the lowest score. And I'm deeply humiliated to say that, but hopefully yours will be much better. And we're going to talk about the care of creation as we move through. But first we're going to turn to page 2, A Shepherd for Others. I also have to be honest to tell you that I never knew about Father Michael McGivney, nor knew about all that he did in a place not so far away from here in Connecticut. So we want to hear Father Michael's story. And so we're going to start with Jack, if you would do us the honors.
A Shepherd for Others. On an August morning in 1865, a young teenager awoke before the sun rose. In the darkness, Michael McGivney said a quick prayer. Yawning and stretching, he slowly got up. His parents were already awake and waiting. Michael kissed his mother goodbye and set out with his father into the cool morning. As they walked, Michael thought about his future. He felt called by God to be a priest. His grades were good enough. He'd even skipped a few grade levels and finished school early. But Michael's dad wasn't sold on the idea. So today, Michael McGivney was starting a job. He was 13 years old.
Okay, Sophia.
Michael's parents had come to the United States to escape the Irish potato famine, an event that led to the death of 1 million people in Ireland. At the time, discrimination against Irish immigrants raged in America. Searching for work in New England, Michael's dad probably saw the signs that were common in those days. Help wanted, no Irish need apply. The McGivneys had something else going against them. They were Catholic. Based on false and inaccurate ideas about Catholic beliefs, Catholics were often mistrusted, so finding work was even more difficult. But Michael's dad, Patrick, was one of the lucky immigrants who found a job in a brass factory in Waterbury, Connecticut. Patrick and his wife Mary had 13 children, but only 7 survived childhood. Michael was the oldest, and despite the hardships, the McGivneys had faith in God and in one another.
On the summer morning, Michael and his dad crossed a wire bridge over the Naugatuck River. At the brass factory, Michael said goodbye to his father and continued on to the spoon factory, where he would work for the next 3 years to help support the family. Michael worked long hours, but he didn't give up on his desire to become a priest. Finally, when Michael was 16, Patrick McGivney gave permission for Michael to begin studying for the priesthood. Michael entered the seminary of St. Hyacinthe in Quebec, Ontario, Canada. It was a long way from home, but Michael knew he was on the right path. Over the next few years, he moved on to a few different schools. A little shy, but lighthearted and friendly, Michael liked baseball and played on the seminary team.
One day, just as he was about to take final exams, Michael received terrible news. His father had died. Michael returned home, where more bad news waited. With the death of Patrick McGivney, the family lost most of its income. Michael's sisters worked, but there were no extra money to pay for the seminary. Michael would have to put off the priesthood once again. When the local bishop heard about Michael, he stepped in with a scholarship to help him finish his studies. Michael graduated and was ordained a priest, celebrating his first Mass on Christmas Day in 1877. It was a joyful day for the McGivney family, but the celebrating couldn't last long. Father Michael had work to do.
Father Michael was assigned to St. Mary's Church in New Haven, Connecticut. The parish was deeply in debt. Father Michael had lots of energy and ideas. He came up with creative ways to pay off the debt through church plays, picnics, and other fundraisers. Remembering the powerful bond he had with his own family, he served parish families, many of whom were impoverished immigrants, as if they were his own brothers and sisters. He spent time counseling a prisoner who was set to be executed. The people of St. Mary's loved Father McGivney. At Sunday Masses, though, Father Michael noticed something strange. The pews were filled with women and children, but few men. Father Michael wanted everyone to experience God's love, and he was concerned that many men didn't seem to think church was for them. So he came up with another creative plan.
Okay, Jack.
Father Michael began an organization to help men grow in their faith and become stronger husbands and dads. He wanted men to work together as brothers to serve others and have fun, the way he had back in his seminary days. Within 10 years of its first meeting, Father Michael's group, the Knights of Columbus, had 6,000 members at Catholic parishes in the United States. Today, more than 1.7 million Knights of Columbus serve around the world, doing everything from sponsoring Special Olympics athletes to working in food pantries to providing disaster assistance. But Father McGivney had even more in mind for the Knights. He knew from personal experience about the struggles families experience when a parent died, and he remembered the impact a financial gift had on his own life. But he saw even greater suffering in the parish. When a father died, his family was often left penniless. Children were frequently sent to orphanages and other institutions. Father McGivney couldn't bear to see families torn apart. In one case, he became the legal guardian for an orphan in his parish. He also had the Knights of Columbus raise money for widows and orphans.
Eventually, Father Michael was reassigned to a new parish where he continued to work around the clock serving families in need. In 1890, Father Michael came down with influenza. He recovered, but it left him weak, and 2 days before his 38th birthday, Father Michael died. Catholics and non-Catholics all over New England mourn this compassionate, hard-working parish priest, calling him a saint. Today, he's on his way to becoming one officially. At a special beatification mass in October 2020, Pope Francis declared him blessed. This is one step away from being formally recognized as saint. It also means that Blessed Michael McGivney continues his work as a shepherd, watching over the poor, strengthening families, and helping people know Christ better.
And so, we have somebody that was very close in where he lived and did something wonderful. What circumstances in Father Michael McGivney's life led to his work serving others? Nick?
I would say, amongst other things, like the discrimination that his family faced, but mainly, I would say the death of his father probably impacted him the most, and this, not necessarily the death itself, but the situation he was put in after with lack of money and support for his education. So I think that inspired him to help other families or people with the same issues.
Do you think the loss and the deprivation also led to him to be resilient and to start something that, because of his compassion and how, because he felt so deeply and understood what it was like to be without. You think that might have been a reason for starting the Knights of Columbus?
Totally.
Mhm. What did Father McGivney notice happening at his parish that led him to start the Knights of Columbus particularly?
Well,
Michael?
he said, there wasn't like a lot of men attending the masses. It was mainly women and young children. So he probably wanted other men to follow in his faith.
And he saw what happened in his own family when his father, died, exactly. In the gospel, Jesus says, I know mine and mine know me. How did Father Michael McGivney know the people of his parish as his own? What do you think, Amanda?
Well, in the one section it said he would foster or became a legal guardian to an orphan,
Exactly.
and
And that, at those days, that was a little bit unheard of for priests to do.
yeah.
So he really went out of his way, didn't he?
Mhm.
He just didn't talk the talk, he really walked the walk.
Yeah, and he brought them in.
And who do you know who serves others like a Blessed Michael McGivney, if anybody?
Well, I think teachers
Mhm.
are really special and act like Michael McGivney. They always want the best for their students, and they try to help them in every way.
And especially this year, where they had to really do a lot of adaptations and a lot of their own personal sacrifices, probably within their own family, to adapt to virtual students, to those that were in the class in front of them, and to prepare lessons that would be adaptable for both. So that really, when they went beyond, and it seemed beyond the extra mile. All right, that was the bridge story to the gospel story of Jesus as the Good Shepherd. This picture I have here. And so let's do this. Let's have Jesus, Jack, you want to be Jesus 1, and then Sophia 2, and Nick 3, and Amanda 4, and then Michael, you'll do the sheepfold later on, okay? Okay, Jack.
Jesus is the Good Shepherd. I am the Good Shepherd. Good shepherds will lay down their lives for their sheep. Hired shepherds do not own the sheep. Hired shepherds run away when the wolf comes, and the wolf snatches and scatters their sheep. Hired shepherds work for money. They do not really care about the sheep.
I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and my sheep know me in the same way that the Father knows me, and I know the Father. I will give my life for these sheep.
I have other sheep that are not in this fold. I will lead them too, for they also will hear my voice. Then there will be one flock and one shepherd.
The Father loves me because I am willing to give my life in order to take it up again. No one takes my life from me. I freely choose to give it. I can give my life and I can take it up. This the Father has commanded.
Now, in the world that we live in and where we live, sometimes the whole idea of shepherding is a little far-fetched, or we don't know that much about it. But very often people have animals that they take care of, pets, okay? And some people have to take care of younger brothers and sisters and so forth. What do you think about caring for either an animal or a plant? Does that make a difference in your life, stretching yourself a little bit? For instance, Sophia, you took care of those women who were very, very, very much marginalized. How did that change you as a person?
Well, I think you have to be very attentive and kind of think about how different services or things you're doing are affecting the people you're helping. It's not really about you or kind of what plan you want to have. It's about helping them and their needs. I think that was an experience that shaped my life, and that I wasn't exposed to people who really experienced these issues before. I'm lucky to live in a neighborhood in which this is not as prevalent. So yeah.
And Nick, you on a team, basketball team.
Yeah.
All right. Talk about caring for the team. Not just personally, because it's not about just a sole player.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with any team sport, obviously, like sports, like team morale is very important because whatever, like,
Yes.
the more chemistry you have, the better that the team plays together.
Mhm.
And I guess that's really exemplified in like the little things, right? So like, let's say someone gets fouled and like they fall on the floor, right? The difference between a team with like good morale and good chemistry would be like when the teammates go and pick the guy up versus when they just like let him sit on the floor. You know what I mean? So like those little things can go a long way. And I know it's maybe a poor analogy, but you can kind of translate that into your life, just doing the little things.
It isn't that, because most of our life is made up of a lot of little things. And sometimes it's just congratulating people who, made a basket,
Yeah.
or something happens in a person's
Yeah.
family on the team and you remember them in that way too. I just remembered something, that I'm looking at all of you wearing your mask, and I just remembered that I don't have my mask on. And maybe Mrs. Brown is going to get, we're talking about little things, but actually they're big things because I was so distracted. Jack, you have a lot of good friends, and you take pride in getting together with these friends at different times, especially when you weren't able to. Okay? Tell me how that makes a difference in your life by sharing not just yourself, but with others.
Well, I mean, it definitely makes me, it kind of gives me like some place to kind of just like, if I had a hard day, my friends can like kind of make it a better day. Instead of like me feeling bad the whole day, I can just kind of, I guess, like if I won't feel bad all day, my friends, like, I could just kind of, talk to them about stuff if I want to, and they can talk to me about stuff.
Right, it's mutual though, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
You help each other.
Yeah.
So if you're having a good day and somebody else isn't, and one of your friends, you kind of understand that and you help each other,
Yeah.
okay? And my dearest friend Amanda is a musician. And musicians seem to have a group of friends who understand musical instruments better than the rest of us. How do you in your music department or have cared for each other?
Well, we're around each other a lot, and so obviously, you start to be familiar with each other, and you start to like acquaintances and friends. So I guess like really what we do is we just like say hi to each other, and like Nikki said, like little things like passing the rosin, and then just making like small talk. Like it doesn't really seem like anything, but like at the end of the day, like you're still like putting in the effort to be friendly to people.
Right, and that even means all the more now when you actually can see some of the people that you haven't seen.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw them in the hybrid, but you're getting to see them all. And Amanda has been having a difficult time finding a parking space. And so, because life has changed full time. And so she has to get up a lot earlier. That's not a little thing. Not when a teenager is concerned or a senior or junior in high school. All right, and Michael, you have kept in contact with your friends throughout this pandemic in different ways. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you continue to do that to be mutually supportive of one another. Explain some of that care that you continually have, because that's all part of being a shepherd. We can't minimize something comes naturally to us.
Well,
But we have to make an effort very often.
sometimes, I text them, I do it initially, usually they text me, but I try texting them more to ask them, if they want to, meet or hang out sometime, it's good to have that, connection, especially during the pandemic, but it's important to continue doing that.
Exactly. Now, how does that move us into how is Jesus like the Good Shepherd? How was Father McGivney a good shepherd? And then from Jesus to Father McGivney to each of us. Well, you talked about how you are good shepherds in your own right, all right? And probably can think of even more. But what about Jesus as the Good Shepherd? Because the gospel talks about the fact that if it's a person that doesn't own the sheep, they may not be as caring about that sheep as the person who owns the sheep and will do anything possible. Now, Father McGivney, or any pastor, certainly doesn't own his parishioners, but he reaches out to each one as if they were his family. And that's what I think Jesus is trying to tell us in being a good shepherd. Because the good shepherd cares so much about his sheep that if the sheep loses its way or gets lost or ends up in brambles, the good shepherd will go after that sheep. If the wolf comes, same thing. Okay, and so we move now, Michael, I'm going to move us along into the church as the sheepfold. And if you would read that for us.
The church is the sheepfold. In each verse of this Sunday's gospel, Jesus reveals himself as the good shepherd he describes. He first distinguishes between a good shepherd and those who are merely hired to go through the motions. The former will lay down his or her life for the sheep and their flock. Jesus, the ultimate shepherd, gives up his life to save his people, his flock. In this gospel, Jesus also shares that his sheep know the sound of his voice. Jesus shared his teachings with his apostles and followers through the tradition of the church passed down through the generations. Christians know Jesus through his voice, his sacred teachings in the scriptures. We also come to know his voice through prayer. The church can be compared to the sheepfold in this Sunday's gospel. It is the place where Jesus' followers are nourished, cared for, and nurtured. And it is the place that we come to know God. There is no salvation without our belief in God and his Son, Jesus.
Okay, so our parish community is like the sheepfold. Now, who would you consider the shepherd of St. Augustine's? Sophia.
The priest.
That's right, Monsignor Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
He's the pastor and would be considered the shepherd of the parish.
Mm-hmm.
Or the person who a pastor is that kind of a person who looks at everybody as of his parishioners as his own. Okay, what do you like most about our parish, Michael?
Well, I think our parish, a lot of people, have many different things. Like everyone comes together on, social gatherings. Like they have, potluck and there's a lot of social events, but mainly, it's how we connect with others, how,
Right.
we meet, outside of church.
You've been an altar server for many years. How does that make you feel uniquely part of the parish?
I feel like, I'm serving God's work. I'm spreading the good. I'm doing something that's good for others, and I'm helping the priests. So I'm doing something for God. I'm
Okay.
helping.
What about what we're doing right now as catechists? Isn't that serving your parish?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all the people in your parish, everybody who is in any way watching this video, 7th and 8th grade primarily, maybe your moms and dads every once in a while, tune in. But we're all part of this one big parish community advancing the gospel of Jesus. And so it all comes back to the life of Jesus. Okay, let's turn over to page 5. And we must be good shepherds of earth. Oh, so not only Pope Francis is a shepherd, or Monsignor Kelly, following in the footsteps of Jesus, but we are also called to be shepherds. And so let's find out more about what our call is. Amanda?
Easter celebrates Jesus' new life. This church season coincides with springtime, when earth comes back to life from its winter state. Green grass covers hills and lawns. Boulevards bloom with daffodils and tulips. Crocuses poke through old leaves. Air is warmer, days are longer. Life and light reveal God, who is the giver of life and light. The God who creates the earth, its sun and seasons, is the God who raises Jesus to new life. Sunday's gospel compares Jesus to a good shepherd who will give his life for his sheep. Part of a shepherd's work is finding the clean water and green grass that sheep need to live.
Okay, Nick?
Today we recognize that many of the 7.4 billion people who live on the earth act in ways that strain the life systems of our planet. If all people consumed as much as we do in the United States, for example, we would need 4 planets like our Earth to support us. The challenge to reduce, reuse, and recycle calls us to simplify and consume less. Every year, on April 22nd, Earth Day activities remind us that we need to help care for our home planet the way we care for our family homes. We do spring cleaning and planting, but we also study what cars and coal and other carbon-producing activities do to our climate. We learn ways to reduce our personal levels of pollution. We learn that the fertilizers and pesticides that help crops grow, can poison the water we need to drink. We learn how far women and girls carry water for their families in some parts of Africa. Today, our religious leaders call us to care for the earth and live more in harmony with its life systems. Caring for creation is an example of good stewardship, and is one way we work for the common good of the people of our planet.
Okay, and Sophia?
In 2016, Pope Francis added care for creation to the spiritual and corporal works of mercy. He reminds us to appreciate creation. It is a wonderful gift that God has given us, so that we care for it and we use it for the benefit of all, always with great respect and gratitude. If we destroy creation, in the end it will destroy us. Remarks taken from Pope Francis's weekly general audience in Vatican City.
And of course, we know that Pope Francis wrote a letter, a letter called an encyclical named Laudato Si, in praise of all creation. And in that encyclical or letter, he wrote very specifically how we can care for creation. He's definitely the Pope of the environment. And so I also know that Michael and Nick have a class in school on environmental science. And so you're doing a project to promote the good stewardship of our planet, am I right?
Yeah.
What are you exactly, you want to share that with us?
So, I mean, it's kind of encompassed in like the Flat Lorax like umbrella, but that's like a whole separate thing, so I'll just skip that. But we have to do an activity for Earth Day and like take a picture of us doing it. And it can really be anything that just like helps the planet. I mean, like our teacher like specifically told us like don't just like take a picture of you recycling something. Right. Like try to go to a park and like clean it up. Or there's a harbor cleanup this Friday at 3:30, and you can go to that and help out there. And that's pretty much the assignment. And then you read a little bit about it.
Right. Okay. And Michael, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, it's more of a physical activity, like it's like doing something that's good for the environment, like, cleaning up the leaves, or like, finding like a bunch of cans in the street and recycling them. It's like, taking care of the earth is especially important.
So it's some action, not just words talking about care of creation, it's actually doing something. As you can see, you have a poster there about reducing trash, and the questions are, what is something you want but don't need? What are some ways humans depend on the earth to survive? What is one way you can consume less for the common good? And what is one way you can care for creation? I think some of those questions should be answered on page 6. In fact, if you circle as we're going through, you might find out that on page 7 you're either a waste watcher, a nature lover, or a creature teacher, or a careful consumer. And so we're just going to read each one, and if you want to circle the ones that you feel that you do, go right ahead. And I encourage 7th and 8th grade as well. And then you can find out on your own after the class what category you best fit into. And so we're going to ask Jack if you would start with number 1, and we'll each take one.
War, carried, or used something made of recycled materials.
Okay, and feel free to be circling as we go along. Okay, Sophia, and we'll keep on going.
Save a gift or money that benefits a charity.
Read a label on your clothing or food. How far was it shipped?
Said no thanks when offered a receipt or a shopping bag.
Brought your travel mug to a coffee shop.
Okay, Jack.
Oh, sorry. Treated a friend to coffee or a smoothie in a recyclable cup.
Donated your used clothing or running shoes.
Use fragrance-free and cruelty-free hair and skin products.
Dusted your room with an earth-friendly cleaner or used a damp t-shirt.
Adopted a rescue animal.
Took your dog for a walk.
Went camping in a state or national park.
Ate fruit and vegetables grown in your state.
Wrote a letter to the editor about responsible water usage.
Recycled your lunch so that you have no waste.
Okay, Jack.
Borrowed clothes for a special occasion.
Kept compostable materials out of the trash.
But anything that's fair trade certified, responsibly sourced, or conflict-free.
Took off your shoes right when you got home.
Carpooled to practice or school with a friend.
Powered down phone, tablet, computer, or gaming system. Unplugged the charger.
Walked to a friend's house.
Raised an animal and showed it at the fair.
Shut off the water while you brushed your teeth or turned off the lights when you left a room.
Filled your BPA-free water bottle up before school.
Shop at a thrift, co-signed under a vintage shop.
Do you think these are realistic? Do you think, okay. Do you want to comment on any of these, Sophia? Something that hit you personally? Not necessarily that, you do it all the time, but maybe something that you learned.
Well, one that kind of struck me because I don't do it and I really should is the one about bringing your travel mug to a coffee shop. Because I drink so much coffee and I'm always at Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts or something, so I should try and not use the plastic
Okay,
cup.
so you took one of these personally? Is
Yeah.
Something that you want to...
I'm gonna try.
Okay. Nick, did you find anything that struck you?
Can I make a broad comment?
Yes.
Okay, so, as much as I do try to care as much as possible, sometimes I find myself not making the extra effort to be mindful, right? But off of this list, and I know these are all good things, I circled more than half of them, and like I said, I'm not the most environmentally conscious person. So that being said, making the extra effort or just doing a little more could take us a long way, because I already do a lot of this stuff without even knowing it.
Exactly. Right. And Sophia is not
I
a
agree.
Yeah.
Good. And you're growing up that way. Jack, do you have anything that struck you?
Well, I guess I'm also surprised that I did as many of these things as I did. Not really surprised, but I guess that there are more than I did. I do try and sometimes do some of these things, but then there's other things that I just kind of do on a daily basis because that's what I grew up doing.
Yes. So you can almost say that the whole page is something that is real in your life, which is wonderful. It's because that's become, even when we would have team gatherings, it was more appropriate to offer water to people than soda. And that was a new thing compared to, say, 10, 15 years ago, where that wouldn't have gone, very far. And so there's so much that is happening now. Obviously, the next step is not necessarily to do it in plastic bottles, because to have water bottles of your own and possibly carry them around. And I'm not really good at that. I don't know about how you feel about all this, Amanda.
One that I really focus on is shutting off the water while I brush my teeth. I just don't like running excess water.
Right.
Because my mom always tells me, when I was younger and brush my teeth without turning off the water, she would always say, oh, the plant is drying up and stuff. So I'm very conscious about that now. I try to really prevent just unnecessary water.
Which goes to show you that as you grow up and you learn what you learn when you're very young, it becomes a part of you, and it's essential. Michael, did you want to comment on any of these?
I thought, sometimes I try to take my dog out for a walk, I do that a lot, during the beginning of the year. So, that was definitely reducing my carbon footprint, not driving as much, so I think that was important,
And have you planned on an activity for that class? Have you committed anything, or you haven't decided?
I think I'm most likely gonna go to Harbor Island, not Harbor Island, Flint Park, excuse me, and just clean up some things there.
All right, how about you, Nick, for your class?
Some of my friends are also in the class. They may not be in my period, but they also take it. And we've decided to go clean a park together.
Oh.
Don't know which one yet, but
Oh, and you have to take a picture of yourself doing this
yeah,
to be able to submit it for your assignment?
yeah.
Oh, I like it. It's not just celebrating Earth Day with a lot of hoopla, it's actually doing something specific. Sounds good. Okay, 7th and 8th grade, you can do this on your own and decide what category you fall under. And I'm going to ask you to read page 8 about St. Joseph in this year of St. Joseph. Pope Francis made 2021 the year of St. Joseph. Very often St. Joseph gets a bad rap because people don't talk about it. He's one of those silent saints that kind of gets overlooked. And so I hope you won't overlook this page and you will read it on your own and find out a lot about St. Joseph, who, Mary and Joseph brought Jesus into, as we're talking about, the young life into adulthood. And as your father does so much for all of you, each of you, and all the parents and all the people in your extended family, as well as your mother, so you might want to read that. And but believe it or not, Douglas has something to say about the environment and about our care of the environment, so don't stay tuned. And I wouldn't want 7th and 8th grade to miss their lesson review on visions, and so I'm reminding you about that. And hopefully next week, we'll find ourselves outdoors again. I wish you a very wonderful week as you celebrate Earth, creation, Good Shepherd Sunday, and say a special prayer for Monsignor Kelly, our pastor, and for Pope Francis. And so we thank Sophia and Jack and Nick and Amanda and Michael and all of you for being with us.
Hey guys, look at this flower that I made. Today we're going to be talking about taking care of the world God gave us. Hey guys, it's me again, Douglas. And yeah, so I made this flower. Well, I didn't really make it, but I helped it grow, and lots of other flowers too, because my mom gave me this patch in the garden, this area in the garden that I got to call my own, and I decided to grow some flowers in it. And it was really hard work to grow flowers. I didn't realize how much work went into it, but you gotta water them if it's not raining, and you've gotta take care of the weeds. You gotta pull up the weeds so they don't choke up your little flowers. And you also gotta look out for bugs too. Like if there's any bugs there, you gotta spray for the bugs so they don't eat your flowers. And then also sometimes if it gets too cold, you got to go out at night and cover them up with a blanket or something so they don't freeze. And so it takes a long time to grow flowers too, a long time. Like it takes about a month. But after they're all grown, then you've got these nice little flowers. And so I got these flowers and I went and I gave them to a whole bunch of people. I gave one to my mom, and I gave one to my dad, and I gave one to the neighbor lady, and I gave one to my Sunday school teacher. And I even gave one to my dog Roscoe, which it turns out was kind of a mistake. Because you see, everybody, when I gave them a flower, what they did was they were like, "Oh, Douglas, thank you for the flower. That's so nice." So, they'd say something like that. And especially my mom, she took the flower and she put it in a vase, and she put it up on the kitchen table, and she gave it some plant food and some water, and she put it in a nice spot. And that made me really happy when they took this thing that I made for them, because it took me a long time, and everybody was really glad to have it. But when I gave it to my dog Roscoe, I called him in. I said, "Hey, Roscoe, boy, I got something for you." And he comes in, he's like, and he walks up to me, and I say, "Here you go, Roscoe. I made you this flower." And he bites it in his mouth, which that's okay, because, he doesn't have thumbs, so he's got to pick things up with his mouth. So I didn't mind that he picked it up with his mouth. But he took it in his mouth, and then he went, and petals were flying everywhere. There was flower stuff all over the place. And then he's just had the green part, and even that, he put it on the ground, and he stepped on it with one foot, and he pulled on it with the other foot, and he ripped it in half, and then he ate half of it, and he didn't even like it, so he threw it up on the floor, and then he just walked away. And I'm standing there, and I'm just like, why would you do that? Oh, I was so mad at Roscoe. I was so sad. I wasn't just mad. I was sad because I made this nice thing for him. I made this nice flower. But, well, okay, so it wasn't this flower, because this flower still looks good, but it was a different flower. And I felt so bad that he took this thing I made for him and he just destroyed it. And that made me not feel very happy about this nice thing I'd given him. You know, God made a gift for us, just kind of like I made this flower for my friends and my family. God made a gift for us, and that is the earth. The whole planet Earth, the whole world God made for us. Yeah, he made it just for people. He made it just for us. He gave us air to breathe and water to drink and plants and animals and all kinds of awesome things to look at, like mountains and forests and oceans and all kinds of cool stuff. He gave us this awesome world to live in and to take care of, but sometimes we don't do a very good job. Sometimes we waste what he gave us. Sometimes we make it all nasty. And sometimes we just act like we don't even care about what he gave us. You know, we just stay inside all day and we never go outside and we don't see the cool stuff God made us. And when we do all that stuff, it's like we're a Wasco. And God is like, here you go, everyone. I made you this beautiful world. And we take it and we say, oh, thank you, God. And we take the world in our mouth and we go, and then we throw it up on the ground. But that's not what we should be like. We should not be like Wasco. We should be like my mom and take very good care of the thing that God made us. And so how can we take care of the world that God gave us? Well, one of the ways that we can take care of the world is by recycling. You know, sometimes some of the stuff that we throw away, it doesn't have to go in the garbage. It doesn't have to go stay in the dump, because there's some stuff like plastics and paper and things where they can take it to a place and they can melt it down or chop it down and make it into something new. And that way it doesn't just go sit at a dump. Another thing you can do is just not waste stuff. You know, God gave us this earth. He gave us all these things, all these resources that we can use, but there's only so much of it. So like when we turn on the lights, that's using up resources that God gave us. So one of the things you can do is not waste electricity, and don't waste water, because it takes energy to make the water clean to drink and clean to, you know, take a bath in and wash the dishes and things like that and brush your teeth. So when you are using water, don't waste it. And when you're using light, don't waste it. Well, any kind of electricity, don't just leave things on and running. Another thing that you can do is don't litter. Litter is when you take some garbage that you've got, and instead of throwing it in the trash can like you're supposed to, you just throw it on the ground because you don't want to deal with it. You don't want to go find a trash can. It might not seem like a big deal, you know, just throw one bubblegum wrapper on the ground, but if enough people do that, then we're swimming in bubblegum wrappers, and that's no good. And you can do your part to make things better by not littering. So if you're done with your candy wrapper, don't just throw it out the window, but throw it in the garbage so that it'll go where it needs to go. Another thing you can do is, well, I mean, anything else. Anything you can think of to help make the world a more beautiful place. You know, you could plant a garden, or you could pick up trash, even if it's not your trash. You can go, like, ask a park ranger if there's something you can do at your local park. There's all kinds of things that you can do to help make the world a better place and show God that we are grateful and thankful for the awesome things that God gave us. You might not be able to totally change the world, but you can take care of the little bit of the world that God gave you. So that's my challenge, is that we'd be grateful to God, and we'd show him that we're thankful for what he gave us and take care of the awesome world he made just for us. Well, I'm going to go put this flower in a vase, but I hope that you will remember that God loves you so much that he gave you the whole earth, and we should take care of it. Bye, guys. Well, hey, thanks for watching this video. I hope you liked it a lot. I make a new video every Monday where I share how I'm learning about God's plan for me and also for you. And also, if you really like these videos and you believe in what I'm doing and you want to help me make more videos, there's this website called patreon.com. And if you go to patreon.com/Douglas Talks, it'll take you to my Patreon page, and it'll show you how you can help support this ministry and how you can help me make even more videos. And you know, it's only through God's grace and the generosity of some awesome people like you that I can make these videos. So thank you so much for watching and being such a cool and supportive group of people. God bless you guys.